protecting the privacy and security of our users has long been an essential part of our mission.
If you could summarize the latest congressional testimony of Google's CEO in the shortest expression possible, it would be,
"Dodge this."
After the testimonies from Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, and Jack Dorsey, Sundar Pichai sat down to clear Google's name on search engine manipulation, election meddling, data privacy, and anti-competitive behavior. If you didn't want to spend 3 hours of your life listening to America's elected representatives embarrassing themselves,
does Google, through this phone, know that I have moved here and moved over to the left? It's either yes or no. So Google knows that I am moving over there. It's not a trick question. You know, you make $100 million a year, you ought to be able to answer that question. Does Google know through this phone that I am moving over there and sit next to Mr. Johnson?
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
here is my summary of Sundar Pichai's testimony. Apart from one major thing, Pichai's hearing was strikingly similar to Zuckerberg's 10-hour-long damage control marathon. Google was accused of the same wrongdoing: mishandling of users' privacy, manipulating search results, censoring conservatives, and of course the Russian bots. The only difference was that, unlike Zuckerberg, Pichai was under oath.
Swear that the testimony that you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
But whether that amounts to anything more than just a pinky promise made on a kid's playground depends on whether someone in the Justice Department is willing to overlook the fact that Google gave them $17 million to shut up. Just like with Facebook, Google CEO also dodged the privacy question with "users always have a choice."
For any service we provide our users, we go to great lengths to protect their privacy, and we give them transparency, choice, and control. And as part of that, it depends on the applications users choose to use.
There's a control right there about who you're going to be sharing it with, whether it's your friends or public or a specific group, and you can change that and control that in line. People have a control over how their information is used in ads in the product today.
No serious challenges to data privacy were further brought up. Only one representative rightly pointed out that users might not understand that Google's privacy policy applies to services they never directly use, which was brought up in a question about Google's DoubleClick.
My question is, does the policy apply when a consumer contacts a DoubleClick cookie?
Google actually has several tracking scripts that are stalking people as they browse the web without realizing they are giving up all of their interests, browser history, and even medical records to Google. This is where Google's privacy policy steps way over the creepy line, and it has never been discussed until now. Well, not even until now, because Sundar Pichai's non-answer just swept the issue comfortably under the rug.
Today, our product there is called Google Ad Manager, and in general, when users interact with our services, we need their consent, and by law, we need to apply our privacy policy so that we can offer them the full protections we can and fulfill our obligations. And so, as part of that, I think if you're interacting with our ad services, we do get your consent for your privacy policy.
So that's written in the policy, and they have okay. And then secondly, if a consumer does not have a Google account, but they land on a web page that has Google adware again, is that consumer using a Google service under the privacy policy?
My understanding would be yes, if they are interacting, if they may be both subject to the privacy policy of the publisher or the application they are using, as well as the ad platforms that work on that product.
Okay.
Most people don't understand that Google is following them everywhere they go, whether they use their services or not, or even if they choose to opt out of the data collection in Google's privacy settings. I expected this issue to be discussed a lot more, but what we got instead was congressmen making themselves look like totally uneducated morons seeking tech support from an Indian IT guy.
I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who picked up her phone before the election, and she's playing a little game, kind of game a kid would play, and up on there pops a picture of her grandfather. And I'm not going to say into the record what kind of language was used around that picture of her grandfather, but I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing a kid's game?
Congressman, iPhone is made by a different company, and so, you know, I mean,
It might have been an Android. It was a hand-me-down of some kind.
I'm happy to follow up and understand the specifics. There may be an application which was being used, which had a notification, but I'm happy to understand it better and clarify it for you.
One issue that was heavily brought up was Google's search engine manipulation.
With allegations that Google manipulates its algorithm to favor the political party it likes, the ideas that it likes, or the products that it likes.
As I've discussed on this channel multiple times, Google is definitely editing their search results to meet their vague policies or hidden agendas. But of course, politicians being politicians always try to make it about themselves and their tribes.
If you Google the word idiot under images, a picture of Donald Trump comes up. I just did that.
Accusing Google of liberal bias doesn't surprise me. America's right wing doesn't like Silicon Valley, and for valid reasons. But the problem is that it is easy for Google to dodge this question by saying they simply don't have a policy to censor ideologies. And I believe them. I believe Google doesn't edit and manipulate search results purely based on political beliefs. What's happening instead is that Google is increasingly becoming a platform for the establishment and consequently the mainstream media. That's where the issue lies. If you want to make it about conservatives or liberals, Google can just say it's impossible for employees to manipulate search.
Very quickly, it's not possible for an individual employee or groups of employees to manipulate our search results. You know, we have a robust framework, including many steps in the process.
But then Google says they want to create a happy, safe space platform where people can trust the information they're looking for.
It's no coincidence that a company dedicated to free flow of information was founded right here in the US. As an American company, we cherish the values and freedoms that have allowed us to grow and serve so many users. And I'm proud to say we do, and we will continue to work with the government to keep our country safe and secure.
For Google, it's not about political beliefs, it's about appeal to authority. Google censors non-mainstream and anti-establishment content, period. Whether it's conspiracy theories or independent outlets, if you don't come from the elite circles, your presence on Google is minimal. It's easy to showcase this if you compare Google's search results with DuckDuckGo, Bing, or Yahoo. But that's not what the US reps did here. Instead, you have this Democrat making himself look like an insecure idiot when accusing Google of conservative bias.
Weekend, I was on MSNBC 4 times. And yet, the first thing that comes up is the Daily Caller, not exactly a liberal, but I guess well-known group. Then Roll Call, then Breitbart News, then the Memphis Business Journal, then Breitbart News, then Breitbart. So it looks like you are overly using conservative news organizations on your news. And I'd like you to look into the overuse of conservative news organizations to put on liberal people's news on Google. And if you let me know about that, I'd appreciate it.
You know, we do get concerns across both sides of the aisle. You know, I can assure you we do this in a neutral way, and we do this based on that specific keyword, what we are able to assess as the most relevant information.
I'm sorry for sounding so rough, but these people are paid from taxpayers' money, and being this unprepared for something this important is just not acceptable. I mean, how many times do you need to ask Google the same question to hear the same answer?
I'm interested in what has changed since 2010 and how working with the Chinese government to censor research results are part of Google's core values.
Right now, there are no plans for us to launch a search product in China.
How can you do that? And what are you doing to minimize or to indicate that this is not best practices?
Right now, we have no plans to launch in China. We don't have a search product there.
Are any employees currently having product meetings on this Chinese project?
We have undertaken an internal effort, but right now there are no plans to launch a search service in China, as I said earlier.
You may or may not be doing in China, and I want a clarification of that. Are you looking to expand in China and cooperate with the Chinese government on a platform release in China?
To the question, it's about search. Right now, we have no plans to launch search in China. We have always, over the years, explored how best we can continue to serve users in China, but that's what we're doing.
I don't understand this format of 5-minute sessions without any follow-ups. What benefit does it bring? What is it for, if not for the executives to clear reputation of their companies before their shareholders? From the entire 3-hour-long testimony, and yes, I watched it all, there was only one part that was worth attention, and that was when a representative from Ohio, Jim Jordan, pressed Sundar Pichai on Google election meddling that was revealed from the leaked emails.
We pushed to get out the Latino vote with our features. A few lines down in her email, she qualified that sentence, and she said, we pushed to get out the Latino vote with our features in key states. And she specifically cites the states Florida and Nevada. Near the end of her email, in a similar sentence, she says, we supported partners like Voto Latino to pay for rides to the polls in key states.
Jordan presented emails from Google's top echelon talking about how they tried to sway the Latino vote in key states. Jordan did a really good job pressing Pichai to give a clear response, and even went well over his time.
To say the we in both sentences, Mr. Pichai refers to Google?
Congressman, we are very concerned whenever there are allegations like that. Our team looked into it.
I'm not asking that question. I'm asking, is it fair to say the we in both sentences refers to the company Google?
But Pichai's answer was striking. For the entire 5 minutes, Pichai denied anything that was said in the emails actually happened.
We did look into it. We found no evidence that there were any activity like that from Google.
So she's not telling the truth?
Congressman, as I said earlier, we found no evidence to substantiate those claims. The only effort we do around elections.
So your head of multicultural marketing, who you praised her work in this email, gave her a shout out, was lying when she said you were trying to get out the Latino vote in key states?
We today, in the US, around elections, we make it, and this is what users look to us for, where to register to vote, where to find your nearest polling place, what are the hours they are open, and we do those things effectively.
I appreciate that, Mr. Pichai, and I already said that's being a good corporate citizen. What I'm asking is, why did you only do it in key states?
As Google, we don't have goals around pushing out to get any particular segment. We don't participate in partisan activities. We engage with both campaigns. We support and sponsor debates across both sides of the aisle, and we provide users with information to get to elections.
Your head of multicultural marketing said you were pushing to get out the Latino vote, paying for a ride to the polls for the Latino vote only in key states, and you're saying that's not accurate.
Yes, that's right. We haven't found any evidence to substantiate
So she just made it up out of thin air the day after the election and wrote this email to your top executives, and it's not true?
Congressman, I'm happy to follow up, but I think the employees today do their own activities.
We don't want the follow-up. I want the real answers right here in this committee.
He was under oath, and he straight out denied an evidence presented before him. I mean, you don't have to incriminate yourself, but did Sundar Pichai, the CEO of one of the largest conglomerates in the world, just lie under oath? This obviously needs an investigation, but everybody in America should go nuts over this. In a political system where such a huge corporation is allowed to spend so much money on lobbying and engaged in behind closed-door deals, your elected representatives can't be trusted to deal with this. But people have more power in their hands than they realize. What you can do is that you start replacing Google services with alternatives wherever you can, and block as many Google trackers as possible. If enough people do this, you could actually make a lot of pressure on Google. On your Firefox, install uBlock Origin and learn how to block Google trackers so that you don't give them any more of your private data. Online stalking is how Google makes money, and this is how you can be extremely efficient at eradicating it. I have easy to follow tutorials on this, so I will link them in the description. In physical stores, pay cash instead of by card, and don't use loyalty rewards or club cards to get incremental discounts. That's how retailers track what you buy so that they can sell that data to Google, data brokers, and other advertisers. Replace your Gmail with ProtonMail or Postio, search with DuckDuckGo and StartPage. Head over to privacytools.io to find more Google alternatives for whatever you need. It's possible to kill Google's business model without the help of corrupted government officials. You really have that much power, and Google fears it. Google is very powerful, monopolistic even. They dominate online search, web browsing, mobile OS, video hosting, digital advertising, and big data. The same tools that allowed Google to rise up can be used to take it down. It's up to the people to tap into the potential of computer technology they're holding in their hands. Thank you for watching.